Welcome to another episode of Pulling Threads. Today, we welcome our guest, Mary Eldridge, a licensed clinical social worker and coach who specializes in helping high achieving women navigate and get out of toxic and abusive work environments.
Thank you so much, Leslie.
Yay, I'm excited to have you and to have this really important conversation. I always start off with guests kind of asking what inspired you to really focus in the areas you are focusing and specifically helping ambitious women recover from these toxic workplaces. How did you get interested in this?
Yeah, so funny thing, I was in a toxic job myself, right? So I think that's what really inspired me into doing this kind of work. But I would say my biggest passion is actually empowering women, helping
Mhm.
them reclaim power over their voice, over their career, over their relationships. So my focus as a coach is to help them regulate their nervous system, set the boundaries that they need to set and also get compensated fairly for their contributions in the workplace.
Great. So would you say you are helping more women stay in these environments and making it work for them, or helping women leave toxic workplace environments?
Yeah. So it's actually both on my
Okay.
end. Because of the empowerment piece, right, that I am so passionate about, I encourage them to explore what their options are, right? Whether it is that they want to stay and they see hope that their relationship with their employer can change and can transform, and that there's actually room for them to have needs in that workplace
Hmm.
and all of that. I give them all the tools to also then ask for what they need, set the boundaries again that they need to set, also have like more work-life balance and all of
Mm.
that if they want to
Yeah.
stay there. And I also give them a lot of strategy if they want to transition out, right? A lot of, so the final piece in my program, it's actually my reclaim stage because I had split my program into three stages. One is the recognize stage, which is about pulling apart and deconstructing all the systemic issues so that
Mm.
women know that they are not the problem, right? Even
Mm.
though they have been made to believe that they
Yeah.
are not working hard enough, that they are not doing uh, good work and all of that, or that they
Right.
are not good enough themselves. It's about recognizing all of the dynamics that are playing a role in that. And then we move on to the regulate stage, which is just bringing them back into feeling regulated, feeling balanced, feeling present, because we know that when we are in survival mode, we cannot fully access rational thinking and logical thinking. So it's
Right.
about giving them all the tools to regulate their nervous system. And the final stage is the reclaim, where I give them tools and scripts on how to answer interview questions if they want to leave, on how to ask for a raise if they want to stay, right?
Hmm.
All those pieces. So they get to decide as to what is the right path for them.
I love that. I also love that you're helping women stay in their current position, not necessarily leave, because it's really not great out there as far as the job market goes. And I think it's a scary time for most people to leave a job that is reliable. And of course, for those people who can't make it work, you're going to help them get out and find the next position. So let's back up
Mhm.
a little bit. I want to
Yeah.
know how someone can tell if their workplace is truly toxic versus stressful. And I ask because
Mhm.
we're therapists, so we know the significance of toxicity and narcissism and all of these words that people are using fairly freely now.
Mhm.
And we know that those types of work situations exist, but some workplaces are just stressful. How can someone tell the difference between a toxic workplace where an intervention needs to be had versus just a stressful workplace?
Yeah, so I would say the main cue is whether you're receiving support or not, right? If you're
Mm.
being made to feel like you're alone, like you're the problem, that is the main sign that it is a toxic work environment. Because
Okay.
yes, there are workplaces and workloads that are very stressful, but if you have, let's say, a manager or colleagues that have your back, that is the recipe for still being productive, for still feeling like you can accomplish all the things,
Right.
even if at times you have to take a step back and actually say, hey, I cannot take this on right now. The ability for you to even set boundaries is something that is only possible if you're in a healthy work environment. Because in unhealthy work environments, what happens is that boundaries are pushed. There's no work-life balance. You're not allowed to be human and to
Mm,
have needs while
yeah.
also being a worker and an employee ultimately. So that
Right.
is, I would say, the main sign.
Okay. That's good. If you can set boundaries, then it's probably at least has potential to be a healthy
Yeah,
workplace, right?
yes,
Uh,
support, right?
why do you think ambitious, specifically
Mhm.
ambitious, high achieving women often stay longer in harmful environments than others do?
Yeah, so unfortunately, we have such a high level of commitment to the work that we do and the organizations where we're doing it at, right? That is used against us. We are put in the position of believing that we're supposed to just be working harder or we're
Yeah,
supposed to be doing more things, longer hours, not have any time with our families. Everything has to be about work. And I'm not saying being ambitious is a problem. What's
right,
the problem is how it's used against us. How
right.
that
Yes.
skill, strength, and all of that is actually reverted and
Mm,
used to take power and control away from us over like our ownership over our careers and all of that.
yeah.
That is a big issue. And also because we care so much about the work that we do, right? And
Hmm.
we take such high pride on the output, right?
Yes.
That
100%.
when we don't, we feel like we are not meeting even our own expectations or someone else's expectations, what happens is that we just try harder and harder. And it is also very human to use self-blame, right?
Mm,
We
yes.
place the blame on ourselves as an attempt to regain control over an outcome, right? So we say, if I can control this, then I can avoid this outcome or
Yeah.
I can pursue and get that outcome. But that is just perceived control
Yeah.
because we are not responsible for the toxic dynamics and we're doing our best, right? But
Right.
when that is being used against us, we still need to feel in control to feel safe. And we blame
Absolutely.
ourselves in that process.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes. And I think so many of us struggle with perfectionism and for ourselves, and then other
Hmm.
people definitely tend to exploit that in
Yeah.
us. So even if we're trying to heal it in our own life, then when we go to work, it's exploited and there's so
Hmm.
much pressure. And I think it's difficult for women. And specifically, we're talking about kind of women today.
Hmm.
So I think when we enter into a work situation, especially these like high power positions
Hmm.
or even many professional positions, we are often told we're family friendly because by law, the employers have to be family friendly. But in reality, once the work starts, it's not. So I guess I wanted to talk a little bit about that, like the role that you see sexism play in this and what women specifically are dealing with that most men, not all, but obviously there are men who do like a lot of caregiving for their
Hmm.
children and take care of their homes. So what are you seeing in your clients who are in position professions like medicine, attorneys, CEOs, working in corporate America? What are you seeing?
That we're trying to balance it all, right? And yet again, we're still being told that we're not doing well enough, right? That we're not doing enough. And that's one of the issues as well as to like how society is using the high achieving label against us, right? Or high achieving tendencies against us. There's like very little balance.
Hmm.
And the emotional labor, the physical labor, the invisible labor, right, that women are doing for families, workplaces, etc. And
Yeah.
stuff keep being dumped on our plates. And we feel like we have to achieve it all, do it all.
Right.
And that's also
Right.
connected to imposter syndrome, right?
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
Superman imposter syndrome, right? It was
Yeah.
superhuman, where we feel like we have to do it all and we have to do it all perfectly as well, right?
Yeah.
So that comes, to a detriment on our health, our well-being, our emotional health, all of that, and even our relationships, honestly, because then we feel like we're not present enough with our children and not
Hmm.
present enough with our partner, not meeting our partner's needs, right? Not
Right.
all the guilt for being a working mom and things like that. Every professional woman who's ambitious and in a toxic job also has kids,
Right.
but it's like layers and layers, and everybody's
Yeah,
different.
everyone is different. And I think one thing that we never talk about is that for those of us who do have children, we also have high achieving children.
Yeah.
And the pressures put on them has never been greater. So we have children who I have a daughter in high school, and she's preparing to be a college candidate, and that is a huge
Mhm.
undertaking now. So she's in theater. She's doing great in all of her classes. Of course, she's taking all the APs and the honors classes. In addition to that, there's an expectation that she should be creating a nonprofit or some kind of work in the community to make her stand out. And there's a load on us as moms and dads to help them get through that process. So the demands on all of us have never been greater, ever. And I know when I joined a law firm
Mhm.
13 years ago, it was we're family friendly, we're family friendly, we're family friendly. And a month later, my son's first 4:30 p.m. middle school soccer game, I came in really early in the morning and I was getting ready to leave. And one of the other associates was like, "Where are you going?" And I was like, "Oh, he's got a soccer game." No, no. And so then I guess as women or fathers, mothers or fathers, we almost have to say, what do you define? How do you define family friendly? How do you
Right.
define what are your expectations? And I guess when we started, you talked about boundaries, and that's something that you could probably help women better understand. What are the boundaries that are
Mhm.
reasonable that you need to probably set from the beginning, if possible? Because we just don't know. We don't know what we don't know until the moment you realize, oh, they
Mhm.
meant family friendly in a very different way than what is going to work for my family.
Exactly. And like
Yeah.
how there's like so many similar cases, right? It might be actually about being in a healthy work environment and things like that. In fact, I was
Yeah.
talking to someone recently who took a job, having a good job, right? And took this other job thinking, like, oh, this is gonna be great because it's within my realm and all of that. And they joined and right away started experiencing a lot of toxicity
Mm,
to the point that even though this person stayed just a few months in that job, they actually transitioned out pretty quickly
yeah.
and they're still struggling with
Yeah.
the impact of that toxic work environment. I was literally telling them the agreement when we take a job is that they will create the environment for us to be healthy and productive employees.
Right.
And
Right.
their agreement is that some of our needs, most of our needs will be met, right? They
Hmm.
will do what they can to meet our needs. When there's no transparency around what they expect from you,
Right.
like that's not you being the problem for like asking for more things, for asking for what you need. That's
Hmm.
them being unwilling to meet your needs and not being transparent and honest about what they would expect from you. So it's kind of
Hmm.
like, honestly, they tricked you into a job by giving you all the things that you wanted to hear in an interview
Right.
and then give you the actual truth. And I
Right.
would say boundaries. Like
Yeah.
we tend to think about boundaries as like saying no, but boundaries aren't just about saying no. Boundaries are also about you requesting things, right?
Yeah.
I need to be present at my kid's soccer game because that matters to me. And that's it.
Yep.
You don't have to even give an explanation. But that on itself is a boundary. That is
Yeah.
you saying, this is what I need for me to be a healthy employee, productive employee, and also a human outside of my work environment.
Absolutely. And I don't think we really fully understand the impact, the trauma that can happen in the workplace. We talk about it in relationships all the time. We're starting to talk about it coming from our families, but trauma can happen in the workplace too. And it doesn't always have to be from someone higher up. It can be from a lateral coworker, but it's still the organization's responsibility to protect us from that and to intervene and
Mhm.
listen when it's happening
1,000%. HR is there to protect the organization.
to protect the employees. Yes.
Exactly. Even
Yes.
though we're sold on that idea, right?
Yeah.
That is what we're told. If you need anything, reach out to HR. If there are any issues, reach out to HR, right? When really HR is just there to actually say, okay, we have checked all of our boxes to not get
Yep.
sued.
Right.
And
Risk management. They shouldn't be called HR.
exactly.
Human resources. It should be called risk
Exactly.
management.
Yes. And that is not to say that they are bad people because HR people are just doing what they're supposed to be doing
Yep.
and they're part of the same system that is
Yeah.
toxic,
It
right? And
is,
so
right.
I'm not putting blame
And
on
not
that.
every organization is toxic. There certainly are
Yes.
organizations out there who are doing it right.
Yes.
What would you say are the first steps to healing for someone once they realize that their job is harming them?
The first step is definitely acknowledging it, right? And with
Mhm.
acknowledging it, you're also probably going to be grieving. You're going to be grieving what you thought it would be. You're going to be grieving what you're at and what you're experiencing. You're going to be grieving, looking back and saying, like, oh, wow, yeah, that actually did happen. That
Yeah.
actually did hurt. And I am still carrying that with me, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
But as we know, what we resist persists, right?
Right.
So if we
Yes.
don't face it, if we don't connect with it, if we don't process it and accept it, it doesn't mean that you have to be okay with it happening. Accepting that it did happen, right? And that it is probably still happening, right? Those are really critical in your healing process because once you accept it, then you can decide what is right for you and how you want to proceed. Also,
Yeah.
finding community, people that can hold space for you without having an agenda, without giving you all the advice, without telling you, what you need to do or not do, or that it will be okay.
Mm.
Or you need people that you can just like process and sometimes not even like talk about it, but sit with them and sit with your feelings. Have a space where, you're treated with empathy, kindness, non-judgment, and all of that. And then decide what you want to do. What is it that you want to do with your life? Because you do have a choice and you're not stuck, even though we feel like that so
Mhm.
frequently. Especially when we are in those toxic work environments, we fear that we
Mhm.
are the ones that are carrying all that toxicity and that regardless of where we go, we will experience it again, right?
Right.
So that
Right.
on itself keeps us from exploring what else is out there. If there's
Yeah.
anything, even though we would be interested in, right?
Yeah.
And one thing that showed up for me when I was in my toxic job is that I was so emotionally depleted trying to survive in that place that I didn't even have the energy to update my resume and to actually
Wow.
look at jobs and do a job search. And also, I had so much shame thinking that I was the only one going through it, that I was
Right.
the problem, that I didn't
Mm.
want to talk to anyone about it.
Wow.
And as
Yeah.
soon as I started talking to some people that held space for me, all the validation opened my eyes and helped me see all the gaslighting that had happened, right?
Right.
All the
Right.
things that I have been put through and that I have been told were my fault when they actually weren't. And
Mm.
all of the things that I thought were happening, but I had told myself that couldn't have been happening, that other people then confirmed. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh. I guess it
Right,
was
right.
real all along, and I can accept my
Wow.
own reality now.
Yeah, I think that also people probably are walking in to some of these workplaces and immediately going into fight or flight. So their nervous system's really active when they're at work in anticipation of some kind of toxic interaction.
Yes.
So how do you teach people to calm their nervous system
Yeah.
while they're trying to sort through this? And I imagine that's part of the first step too, after there's awareness, then trying
Mm-hmm.
to calm your nervous system so you can really
Mm-hmm.
decide what's actually happening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I give them all the tools, right? I give them mindfulness, grounding. I teach them exactly what is happening, like both within their brain and their entire system. I also teach them to connect and reconnect with their bodies. Because one of the things that happens is that when we are in survival mode for prolonged periods of time, is that we numb. We
Yeah,
disconnect from our bodies and we stop even noticing the cues that something feels unsafe, that doesn't feel good, that something is triggering us.
yeah,
So we numb all that out and we need to reconnect with that so that we can understand the cues of safety, the cues of, something not being good,
yeah,
and then from there, decide, okay, do I need to breathe? Do I need to ground myself? Do I need some connection? Do I need to just press pause and get out of here for now?
right. Take
Because
a break.
sometimes leave may be possible in certain workplaces. And that is something that we don't tend to think about,
Yeah,
right? Like we
yeah,
we think that it's either we stay or we quit. But what are the options in between, right? And that is
yeah.
also what I help them with, strategizing to see all of the opportunities, all of the options
All
that
options. I love
people
that.
have.
Yeah, you're
Um,
right. There are so many options that most people probably don't think about. I know I had a client at one point who was in a very toxic situation, and it definitely seemed because she was in such a bad place when we started working together, leaving that position and finding another position in the organization did not seem like a possibility.
mhm.
As we worked together and she started setting boundaries in other parts of her life, she realized she could set boundaries there. And then opportunities started opening up in other parts of the organization, and she stepped into one. And
Yeah,
she had no idea. She had been in that situation for years. No idea that she could move to a different department and feel just as appreciated and do just as great of a job.
absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's really important to also talk about empowerment and
Mhm.
career fulfillment, like because a lot of people struggle with that, especially women. How to
Mhm.
learn women learn to reclaim their voices in an environment where they feel silenced. I don't want to pick
Mhm.
on men and say that this only happens in situations where women are working in kind of a boys' club situation. It definitely does happen there, but that's not the only place. I feel like women can also be silencing and competitive with one another. So
Oh yeah.
we do have a tendency to play small. I think especially women of our generation, we were taught to do that as young girls. How do
Mhm.
we teach people to reclaim their voices and speak up and
Mhm.
show what they bring to the table and what they offer at work?
Mhm. Yeah, I would say the key to that is nervous system regulation, right? Because that is also connected to boundaries.
Yeah.
And what happens is that we have learned that speaking up or that getting attention or that doing well and then getting that attention or getting praised and stuff like that is unsafe
Yeah.
because we have experienced negative consequences for doing that. Like getting the results, getting the numbers, all the things for being
Yep.
high achieving. We have learned that whether it is through exclusion, through like getting dismissed, through put downs, etc., that being high achieving and accomplishing things is bad or
Right.
is unsafe. So our brain has been rewired to believe that speaking up actually leads to negative consequences.
Hmm.
So, nervous system regulation and rewiring the brain to like finally get to a place where you can believe that it is safe to speak up. And if it isn't, then like what are the boundaries that like work for you? You don't have to shrink yourself to make other people feel comfortable.
Yeah.
That if they're uncomfortable with it, they can go and process their own feelings on their own. You don't
Right.
have to like shrink yourself for them to be happy, satisfied, or, for
Not at
them to
all.
actually achieve career growth.
Yeah, I love that. I work with a lot of women who are either considering leaving
Hmm.
a marriage or a relationship, or maybe
Hmm.
they're in the process of doing it. And like
Hmm.
myself, many of my clients they gave up their career. And so now they want to go back and have a career post-divorce.
Hmm.
And I love showing them or helping them find what does a fulfilling career look like for you? We also do it with relationships. What does your current relationship look like? What would you like it to look like? And I've kind of carried that little activity over into work for my clients who are further in their process or who are done with their divorce. And it's so fun to almost like reimagine their career.
Hmm.
And I think I could see that working for people who are in a toxic work environment or who are working on getting out of it. Like, what
Hmm.
does career fulfillment look like
Hmm.
after you leave a toxic work environment? And I guess for some women, how do you help them find if they are leaving? How do you help them find the right position, maybe in the same field that's not in a toxic environment?
I help them by learning the cues that something is unsafe, right?
Hmm.
And then from there, they can decide. Because, like, even a job posting,
Okay.
so how do we identify that? Like, we always see that other duties as assigned statement in
Yeah.
every single job posting,
Yeah.
job duties.
I love
But
that.
yes,
A job opportunity, not in a person. I love that.
exactly,
Yeah.
right? Like, we have to look at the system. The problem, what's happened is that the toxic system has made them be or show up in ways that are harmful and unhelpful,
Hmm.
right?
Yep.
Because we have scarcity culture. I say that about even nonprofits ultimately,
Hmm.
right? Because even though nonprofits are typically about like helping people, right? They're
Yeah.
showing up and giving back and all of that. So we think that they have kind of like altruistic motives,
Yeah.
right? But scarcity culture does pin us against each other. So what
Absolutely.
happens is that people that are really amazing people, they still hurt other people because they're trying to survive a system that is toxic and
Mm.
like survivable,
Yeah.
honestly.
What are a couple red flags that you see often either when you're working with clients, like common red flags?
Do you mean like before they jump into a job? Do you mean after they are in the job?
I mean, if I were your client and I were looking for a new position in my field, let's say it's law, and I'm looking for a new law firm, what
Mm-hmm.
are things I might look for at that new position that would be a red
Mm-hmm.
flag that they're going to be a toxic environment?
Hmm. I would say high attrition rates is
Hmm.
definitely one, right? Are
Yeah.
people constantly leaving? Do they constantly have positions open? That is a really huge red flag. If people are constantly leaving, typically is the newer people, not the people that
Hmm.
have been there for long periods of time.
Right.
It also can tell you who is leaving.
Hmm.
Like people that are typically holding marginalized identities or minoritized identities, those folks are typically the ones that are leaving the most
Okay.
those toxic workplaces, right?
Okay.
So, like exploring that, asking about those things, right? Like, what are the strategies to actually support employees' well-being and things like that?
Mm,
And based on what they tell you, if they tell you that, like, oh, we have, softball league and stuff like that, like
right,
that is
right. They're
already
trying to
telling
bond
you.
people. Yes, that's a
That
great.
is already telling you that
Yep.
is not fully encompassing, right? That
Right.
is someone decided that they liked softball and they wanted a softball league. But how
Yeah.
about people that don't connect through, I don't know, sports or
Right.
don't want to participate? Are they allowed not to? And are there other opportunities? Because for some people that may be fantastic,
Yeah.
right? But what other strategies are there as well to keep people feeling connected, supported, and like their needs are being met?
I love that. Well, I know we're gonna have to wrap soon, but I wanted to ask you to give maybe two or three things to any woman who's listening today if they're in a situation like this. What could they do to shift towards empowerment in their career?
Well, I have one really short strategy that is just three steps. It is spot, which is about noticing, right? Noticing what's
Hmm.
happening internally as a
Yep.
consequence of something happening externally. Connect with that. Then stop and actually regulate your nervous system, whether that
Hmm.
is like through breathing. And I always say exhaling longer than your inhale already
Mm,
triggers your system to calm down. It's like saying, we can transition into rest and digest. And the last one is shift. So spot, stop, shift. And that shift is about, is it that you need to actually go for a walk? Is
mm,
it that you need to actually have your lunch? Or is it
yeah.
that you need to connect with someone that feels safe to you? Do
Right.
what you need and shift the dynamic of getting triggered. So even if you're just doing that, you're already rewiring your brain to the possibility that you can reclaim your safety in that setting.
I love that. I love all things rewiring the brain and neuroplasticity. So, yay.
Same.
Thank you. Thank you. So, Mary, you've talked a little bit about your program. You have a Facebook group. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yeah.
Can you tell us the name of the group?
Yeah, it's a career empowerment collective.
Okay.
And it is a setting where, like, women who have struggled with similar circumstances, whether it's in the past or in the present, just connect and just support each other, hold space for each other, provide empathy and a lot of strategy because they do trainings on a weekly basis on different
Oh,
topics.
great.
I just
Great.
post a poll on the Facebook group, and everybody that's in there gets to decide as to what they would like me to talk about. And you get those trainings on a weekly basis.
That's great. I know I've seen some of those and they're fabulous.
Thank
How else can people who are interested in hearing more from you, where can they follow you? And then if someone was interested in working with you, how would they go about doing that?
Yeah. So they can follow me on Instagram.
Great.
Find me also on TikTok. You can also find me on Facebook under Mary Eldridge, LISW, Mind to Thrive, or you can just go to my website, and
Fabulous.
that is www.mindtothrive.com. And yeah, I'm more than happy to connect with everybody that is listening. I can offer a free consultation to explore where you're at in your situation and what you may need and what options you may have. I just want you to feel supported
Yeah, that's
ultimately.
great. It's a great thing that you're offering women. And
Thank you.
even just the Facebook group having a community means so much. So thank
Yeah.
you so, so much, Mary, for being here and chatting with us today. I look forward to seeing your posts every week as I'm also following your group and your page. So all of Mary's information will be listed in the show notes, so you can easily find them if you're looking at YouTube, Apple Podcast, or Spotify. Thank you so, so much, Mary. I appreciate everything you've shared with us today.
Thank you for
Thank
having
you.
me.
All right. I'm gonna stop recording.